Early Morning Rain isn't too tricky at all. We should be playing this quite quickly. It's only got about 3 or 4 chords in the whole song. First of all, what you want to do, I'll take the capo for a second, you want to drop your 6th string down to D so that we're in drop D tuning. And then, if you want to play in the same key as Gordon Lightfoot, capo back up to fret 3 and drop D tuning, capo to fret 3. The intro sounds like this. Now that's a good example of the chords you're going to see in this song. We've got a standard D chord, where the 6th string, because you've tuned down to D, of course, is now a legitimate bass note and the one you should aim for. We've got a G over D chord, which is the 2nd and 1st strings at the 3rd fret, and the 5th string at the 2nd fret. And because it's G over D, you can also hit the low 6th string that's a D note to get that G over D chord. We've got a normal A chord, however you normally finger A, but make sure on this chord that you mute the 6th string. Just have the thumb rest on it so it's killed. Then you've got an A chord. Later in the song we're going to see E minor 7 over D. When we come from a D chord, which is how we're going to get to this next chord, you simply take everything away except the ring finger on the 2nd string 3rd fret, add the 5th string 2nd fret. It's almost G over D, but you're not fretting the 1st string. Let the low 6th string ring as well. That's your E minor 7 over D. And apart from 2 sus chords that we'll deal with when we get there, that's all the chords you're going to need. So the intro starts with D. And the strum pattern here, if it helps you, is bass, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Now there are many different ways that you could strum this song, so I'm going to give you a standard pattern that'll help you at various points in the song. Bass, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. In the rhythm. 1 and 2, 3 E and 4 E and A. Do the same thing on G over D. I'll sometimes add in an extra little down up in there. If that's natural to you, then go ahead and do it. If it's not, follow the pattern that I just showed you. Then we're going to go to a split bar. A for 2 beats, bass, up, down, to G over D, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, or bass, up, down, down, up, down, up. So you get 1 and 2, 3 E and 4 E and A. And use that exact same strum pattern for the next chord that goes D to G over D. Alright, here's that whole intro played slowly. Last move back to D is the beginning of the verse. And I'm using the song sheet as I'm going through this. That's probably the easiest thing to follow. On strum songs like this, the tab doesn't really help us very much. Now you can keep that same strum pattern going on D. In the early morning rain. D, bass, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. To A. Bass, up, down, and then A sus4 adds the 2nd string 3rd fret. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up. You see that it's the same pattern? Back to A, bass, up, down, and then G over D as before. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up. And D is going to go to G over D, bass, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Here are those 2 lines of the first verse. Slowly, we'll do them first. In the early morning rain, with $1 in my hands. I'm moving back to D for the line with an aching in my heart. Now that's a pattern, that strum pattern you can follow throughout the whole song if it helps you to have a little bit of a clue with the strum pattern. From now on I'm just going to talk about the chords. We're going to go now from D to E minor 7 over D. Remember it? It's like G over D but without the first string finger, and we'll stay there all the way through to pockets full of sand. On sand we'll go back to D. With an aching in my heart and my pockets full of sand. Now after that D, on D we went bass, up, down, and then D sus4 adds the little finger on the first string, third fret, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Notice that there were 2 bars of E minor 7 over D. So coming from the D before that, with an aching in my heart, the D chord is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, stay, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, sus4. So D and D sus4 splitting a bar. Now we're going to go from D for a bar to G over D for a bar. Now I'm a long way from home. Now I'm a long way from home. And then A to D, and D will split a bar with D sus4 as it almost always does at the end of a line. Lord, I miss my loved one so. Now we're going to go from D to A and A sus4, just as we did in line 1 of the verse. In the early morning rain. And the final line is almost exactly the same as the second line. The only difference is at the end, instead of D to G over D, as it did in line 2, it goes D to D sus4. But the rest of the pattern is exactly the same. With no place to go. Going back to D again for Out on Runway number 9, which comes immediately after that verse. Let me play through verse 1 then all the way through at normal speed. In the early morning rain, with a dollar in my hand, with an aching in my heart, and my pockets full of sand. Now I'm a long way from home. Lord, I miss my loved one so. In the early morning rain, with no place to go. Out on runway number 9. And we're into verse 2. And verse 2, as with all the verses of this song, is the same as verse 1. The only difference with verse 2 is when you get to the D at the end, where we just went with no place to go, D to D sus4, don't go to D sus4 this time. Can you see that underneath verse 2 of your song sheet, there's a line of just chords, D in parentheses to G over D, to A to G over D, to D sus4. It's a little interlude, a link between verse 2 and verse 3. The D on the word last, she'll be going down at last. That D is the same as the D in parentheses, so that is the start of the linking passage. Let's put that into musical terms. So coming from the end of verse 2, she'll be going down at last. D, G over D, A, G over D, D, sus4, D. Hear the mighty engines roar. And into verse 3. Is that making sense? So you've got the split bars there in that link. G to G over D to G over D is one bar. A to G over D is another bar. D to D sus4 is another bar. All bars add up to 4 beats. And then the next D is Hear the Mighty Engines Roar. That's your verse 3. It's the same as the other verses. It's followed by the same linking passage that we just showed, we just looked at. So in about 3 hours time, linking passage, G over D, A, G over D, D, sus4, D. This old airport's got me down. It's no earthly good to me. So that's verse 4, that's the same. It's the final verse, in fact. Just notice that at the end of it, he goes, so I'd best be on my way in the early morning rain D to D sus4 there. Can you see that? Towards the end of that final verse. Then he goes into a couple of lines of refrain line just to finish the song. So staying on D, you can't jump a jet plane, G over D. A, like you can a freight train, is D to D sus4. This is all just the same as the last two lines of any verse. And then, so I best be on my way, sus4, A, in the early morning rain. It goes into the linking passage again, which will finish on one strum of D. I'm going to come out by playing through the whole of that final verse, because I think it's making sense to you what we're doing there. It's all the same stuff, just get the combinations right, and you'll be fine. So, coming from that final verse, this is how you'll finish the song. This old airport's got me down. It's no earthly good to me, 'cause I'm stuck here on the ground, as cold and drunk as I can be. You can't jump a jet plane like you can a freight train, so I'd best be on my way in the early morning rain. Oh, you can't jump a jet plane like you can a freight train, so I'd best be on my way in the early morning rain. That final strum of D brings the song to a close. I hope that's making sense to you. Not too difficult once you've got those slightly unusual chord shapes down, G over D, E minor 7 over D. A lot of fun to play. It's early morning rain.